The streets of Manila were always alive with sound, but among the noise of car horns, shouting vendors, and rattling jeepneys, one voice stood out. A young boy named Raphael stood barefoot on the cracked pavement, his old guitar hanging from a strap made of rope. His voice floated above the chaos, soft and emotional, carrying a raw power that made people stop and listen. He sang old Filipino love songs, his tone filled with both sadness and hope, the kind that touched hearts even if you didn't understand the words. Every note seemed to tell his story, a story of hunger, love, and an unbreakable dream. Raphael's mother watched from the sidewalk stall where she sold snacks, her eyes filled with pride and worry. She was sick, and the medicines were expensive, but Raphael never let her see his fear. Each day after school, he sang in the same corner, hoping to earn enough coins for food and medicine. Sometimes, people ignored him. Sometimes, they smiled and dropped a few pesos into his small box. But every once in a while, someone would stop, record a short video, and tell him, "You're going to be famous one day." Those words became his secret fuel. When he got tired, he'd whisper to himself, "Maybe tomorrow someone important will hear me." One humid afternoon, a foreign tourist stopped and filmed Raphael singing, "You Raise Me Up." The boy's voice trembled at first, but as the melody built, it soared with strength and emotion. The crowd around him grew larger, some cheering, some wiping tears. Raphael bowed after the song, embarrassed but grateful. He had no idea that the moment would change his life forever. That night, the tourist uploaded the video to YouTube with the caption, "The voice of hope, poor Filipino kid with a golden voice." The next morning, Raphael woke up to the sound of his mother calling his name with excitement. "Anak, look," she said, showing him her old phone. The video had gone viral, millions of views, thousands of comments, and people from around the world sharing his performance. Messages poured in, calling him an angel, a miracle, a voice that heals. Raphael didn't understand most of the English words, but he understood one thing: people cared. For the first time in his life, he felt seen. The street boy from Manila had captured the hearts of strangers from every corner of the world. In the following days, reporters arrived, cameras followed, and neighbors cheered him on. Television hosts wanted to interview him, and schools invited him to sing at events. The city that once passed him by now stopped to listen. But amid the joy, Raphael stayed humble. He still sang on the same corner, smiling at the same people who had always believed in him. When a news anchor asked him what his dream was, he said softly, "I just want to sing on a big stage, so my mom can see me from the front row." A week later, as he walked home, his phone buzzed with an international number. A woman's voice spoke in clear English, introducing herself from the America's Got Talent team. They had seen his video and wanted him to audition in Los Angeles. Raphael froze, unable to believe his ears. His mother covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The boy who once sang for coins was being given a chance to sing for the world. The community gathered around him, collecting donations to help pay for his travel. Local musicians gave him tips, and the mayor himself promised to support his journey. On the day of his flight, Raphael hugged his mother tightly at the airport. "Sing with your heart, son," she whispered. "No matter what happens, remember where you came from." With tears in his eyes, Raphael nodded. As the plane lifted off above the clouds, he looked out the window and whispered, "This is for you, Mama." His dream was no longer just a hope, it was beginning to come true. The bright lights of America's Got Talent felt like another world compared to the streets of Manila. As Raphael stepped onto the stage, his heart pounded so hard he could hear it echoing in his ears. The vast audience looked endless, their faces glowing under the spotlight. He held the microphone tightly, his small hands trembling. For a moment, he thought about running back home, but then he remembered his mother's words, "Sing with your heart." He took a deep breath, looked up at the judges, and smiled nervously. Simon Cowell gave him a reassuring nod, which gave him just enough courage to begin. The music started softly, the piano melody wrapping around his voice as he sang the first verse. His voice was pure and emotional, fragile yet powerful, carrying years of struggle in every note. As he sang, the room grew quiet, so quiet that even his shaky breath could be heard between lines. The judges leaned forward, and the audience seemed frozen, captivated by the sincerity in his tone. When the song reached its peak, Raphael closed his eyes and poured out everything he had ever felt. The hunger, the nights of rain on the streets, his mother's pain, and his dreams. By the time the final note faded, the hall erupted in applause. People were standing, clapping, some even crying. Simon Cowell looked speechless for a moment, then said softly, "You're not just a singer, you're a miracle." The audience cheered louder. Suddenly, one of the judges slammed her hand down on the golden buzzer. Golden confetti burst from above, swirling around Raphael as he stared in disbelief. Tears rolled down his face as he dropped to his knees, overwhelmed with joy. It was the moment every dreamer wished for, the moment his life changed forever. As the hosts hugged him and the crowd cheered his name, Raphael whispered, "Mama, I did it." The next weeks were a blur of excitement and work. Raphael was flown to interviews, rehearsals, and press events. People wanted to know his story, how a poor boy from Manila had reached one of the biggest stages in the world. But with fame came pressure. He missed his mother, who was back home in the Philippines watching from her hospital bed. Every call from her made him emotional, but he promised her he would stay strong. The show had given him hope, but it also demanded everything from him. During rehearsals, he struggled. The songs were harder, the schedule tighter, and the expectations heavier. Sometimes, he felt like he was losing himself in the noise of cameras and applause. One day, he broke down in the rehearsal room, hiding behind the stage curtains. A judge, seeing him cry, sat beside him and said gently, "Don't forget why you sing. It's not for us, not for the fame, it's for that little boy who sang on the streets with nothing but a dream." Those words struck deep. That night, Raphael watched his old street performance online and remembered the feeling of singing freely, without fear or pressure. When the next round came, Raphael walked onto the stage with new strength. The crowd welcomed him warmly. He chose a song that told his story, a song about faith and holding on through darkness. As the lights dimmed and the spotlight hit him, he began to sing with every emotion he had left. His voice trembled at first, but soon it grew stronger, richer, and filled with truth. The audience could feel it. Many wiped tears from their eyes, and the judges sat in silence, completely moved. When he finished, the applause was deafening. Simon stood up and said, "You reminded everyone tonight why music matters. You sing from your soul, and that's something you can't teach." Raphael smiled through tears, bowing deeply. In that moment, he realized it wasn't about winning anymore, it was about sharing hope. Every song he sang was a message to kids like him, to the dreamers who felt invisible. He had found his purpose again, and with it, a voice that would never be silenced. The night of the grand finale arrived, and the air inside the theater was thick with excitement. Raphael stood backstage, his hands shaking slightly as he stared at the curtains separating him from the biggest audience of his life. He could hear the roaring crowd, the judges' voices, and the sound of his own heart thundering in his chest. He wore a simple white shirt and black pants, no glitter, no fancy outfit, just himself. He wanted the world to see the real boy from Manila, the one who had sung under streetlights with nothing but faith. When the host called his name, he stepped out into the spotlight. The cheers filled the room like a wave. The music began softly, a slow piano melody that told a story before a single word was sung. Raphael closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Then he began to sing. His voice carried across the room, gentle yet filled with power. Each lyric spoke about dreams, poverty, and the strength to rise again. The audience sat silently, many with tears running down their cheeks. Simon Cowell leaned forward, his eyes shining with pride. The song built slowly, rising into a chorus that seemed to lift the whole theater into light. For a moment, everyone forgot they were watching a competition. They were witnessing something far more powerful, a young man turning his pain into beauty. As Raphael hit the final note, his voice cracked with emotion, and the entire hall exploded in applause. The crowd stood on their feet, clapping and cheering louder than ever before. Golden confetti rained down once again, and Raphael dropped his head, overwhelmed. He couldn't stop crying. The judges all rose to give him a standing ovation. Simon spoke first, his voice soft but steady. "Raphael," he said, "what you did tonight wasn't just a performance, it was a reminder of what hope sounds like. You are one of the greatest voices we've ever had on this stage." The audience cheered wildly, chanting his name over and over. When the final results were announced, Raphael held hands with the other finalists, his heart racing. The host smiled and paused for dramatic effect before finally shouting, "The winner of America's Got Talent is Raphael from the Philippines." The crowd erupted. Raphael covered his mouth, unable to believe it. Tears streamed down his face as he fell to his knees, golden confetti swirling around him. The same boy who once sang for coins was now holding the AGT trophy, the world cheering for him. He whispered again, "This is for you, Mama." It was a moment that felt like a miracle. After the show, the world couldn't get enough of him. Interviews, concerts, and TV appearances followed one after another, but Raphael stayed grounded. He often said, "Fame is temporary, but kindness lasts forever." When he finally returned home to the Philippines, the airport was flooded with fans holding banners that read, "Welcome home, voice of hope." His mother, now recovering, waited for him with open arms. The moment they embraced, everyone watching could feel the love between them. Cameras flashed, but Raphael didn't care, he was just happy to be home. He used his prize money not for luxury but for purpose. He built a small music school in his community, offering free lessons to poor children who loved to sing. "I want them to have the chance I never had," he told a reporter. The school became a symbol of hope, just like him. Raphael also donated part of his winnings to hospitals, remembering the struggle of his mother's illness. He continued to sing around the world, performing for charities and inspiring millions with his story. Despite the fame, Raphael never forgot where he came from. He still visited his old singing spot in Manila, sometimes performing there quietly, smiling as people recognized him. He had become a global star, but in his heart, he was still the same boy who sang under the sunset for his mother. His voice echoed beyond borders, reminding everyone who heard him that dreams can come true, no matter how impossible they seem. The voice of hope had not only won a competition, he had won the hearts of the world.